Hello, people of the world of reef keeping. My name is Rich. This is Ben, and you've turned into our new podcast called Talking Reef Shit with Ben and Rich, where we talk about reef shit. Shit, yeah. This week we're going to be talking about what's been going on in our personal world since we visited last. Update on reef to reef and discrimination, and Ben's adventure in the ECOAQUALIZER. So here we go. How you doing, Ben?
How you doing, Rich? Doing good.
I'm doing good. I'm setting a timer. You have a good week with COVID and all that crap?
Oh man, every day's an adventure.
An adventure, but we're not talking about that. What's going on? What's going on? What happened to you this week that was interesting?
Well, today, man, I had a customer that has a monopore eating nudibranchs, and it's weird. Out of all these years and years of reef keeping, and to be honest with you, I've never dealt with it personally.
Good.
But it was Spongiotes.
Yeah.
And they look like tiny Bergia.
How did you spot them?
I was cleaning the tank and just like we all do, but I guess I'm all heightened because I'm at client's house, and so I have to look for aptasia, I have to look for flatworms, I have to look at things to try to head them off the pass. And I just saw one like going around, but it didn't even click at that time that it was eating it. And then he contacted me several days ago. Well, I was due to clean the aquarium anyways today. But he's like, dude, they're everywhere. And he was squirting with a turkey baster. I was like, no, don't blow them all over the aquarium. But what's crazy, there's a red Monty cap and a swirled Monty cap and other Monty caps, but they were just all over the Spongiotes. So today I removed it. Now, you tell me, since I haven't really dealt with them that much, don't they lay eggs underneath the colony itself? Usually they don't go that far away.
Usually they don't go that far away, and definitely underneath is where they'll lay the eggs. I'm amazed that you, as a person doing maintenance, was able to see them, because most of the time when I see them is poking around the tank at night.
Yeah, they're tiny.
That's when they're out. So you got that. I think for me, that just says that you're awesome, that you're looking around and you saw it and thought something about it.
But let me ask you this, man. Would it make sense that, there's several other monopora colonies in there, and as far as I could tell, they hadn't been touched. Would that make sense that they're concentrating on one at a time?
It could be, but it could be that you're just not seeing them, which has been the case that I've gone through with Monty eating nudibranchs, is that no, they're kind of everywhere, but you just don't know it yet. But it may not be that. It also may be that they were introduced recently enough that they haven't spread yet, that they are on one piece.
But that's another crazy thing, is because the last Monty we ever put in there was 7 months ago.
Yeah. Or it may be just that the Spongiotes is more
Could
delicious.
The eggs hang out that long before they did something?
Oh, I'm sure they were there longer than that. When you've got one or two, that's why these things can be so insidious, is, one or two you're never going to see. But
it was like a dozen at this point when I pulled
when you see them, you go, oh shit. And I wouldn't be surprised if you pulled out one of the other caps and looked under and you saw them there too. May not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Huh.
So maybe you caught it ahead of time and don't have to do anything horrible to the tank.
Hopefully we just removed the colony. It came off easy. It was just on super glue and chunked it, and hopefully.
Yeah. I even eventually stopped trying to save them, cause it was there's eggs that we can't see sometimes all over the place. And, so unless
they will only go after monopora, correct?
Yeah. Digitata as well, though, not just cat.
Okay.
And, unless I had a completely delicious quarantine tank and wanted to spend the time on a fast growing, easy to replace coral, it becomes so much work to get rid of these things. In my experience, at least.
What about you, man?
They're horrible.
Do you have anything exciting?
I went to the local fish store for the first time in a million years today.
The one that I went to with you?
Yeah.
That store's great.
I wanted a pink streak wrasse.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing I would recommend you put in that tank for them.
I thought you already had one.
For one of the tanks here.
Okay.
And I also wanted a Harlequin shrimp, which they had in stock, to help take care of this. The Asterinas are going crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then I bought a coral or two because I was there. And I was messing around in the display tank, and I realized I'm going to have to take a big video of it because it's time to do some hacking.
Can you say the name of that store?
Yeah, Aquatic Collection. It's the only store that I think is great within 45 minutes of my house now.
I really liked it.
And I think it's a great store. The guys there, they started, in a small garage shop, and they took their time building it up, and they've done it right, and they've learned how to do it. And I'm thrilled to give them my custom. Yeah. So if you're in the Bay Area, go check them out. Maybe they'll be a sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah. Pander
to no sponsors that we have. Have we said
Bear.
fuck? We should take a fuck break and say fuck.
Okay, you go first.
Fuck.
Okay, my turn. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Fuck.
Excellent. Now we
got that out of the way.
Yeah, we know who this podcast is for. Before we get into the meat of the podcast, it seems like we're going to have one meaty topic that we'll talk about a whole bunch every time for 20 or 30 minutes. Maybe a couple small things beforehand. If you're listening and you have thoughts, let us know. I don't know where yet. We don't have a Facebook page yet. Just email Ben or call him. Call Ben and leave him long rambling voice messages about what
we'll start putting that together to be official.
Yeah. But we talked about the Reef to Reef and the LGBTQ discrimination.
Yeah, where's that at?
Last week. So I wanted to update it. The change.org petition, which I was going to be thrilled if we got 500 signatures on it, is over 1,600 now.
Nice.
Which is amazing, given that we had 2 holidays in between and people aren't paying attention. It seems like the administration at Reef to Reef is doubling down and is not going to bend at all. And
I mean, is there a magic number? I mean,
I don't think so. And the question is, what's the point? Is always the question on these things. I think the point is just to go, these people are treating people badly, and we don't like that. Then there's no reason for it, and they should just stop. Especially if they're saying that we're the biggest and most welcoming community. If they really are the biggest and most welcoming reef
1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Yeah, right. But they're taking a position that's discriminatory. And I don't think you get to call yourself the biggest, most welcoming reef community. And if they are the face of the reef community because they're that big, ew, if that's what they're doing, the reef, the
part of me thinks it's so weird, but also at the same time, that's how 2020 seemed to trend. So I don't know. How surprised should I be?
Why should you care? Because somebody's going to find out that the reef community is being represented by these guys who are discriminating against people. That seems bad. So I don't think there's any magic number that's going to make them, change their mind. Although there may be. I know that people are talking to sponsors of that website a lot, and that could hurt. And I don't want to hurt them. I don't want them to go out of business. Not hurt,
but like I just want them to their mind or whatever.
Not to be dicks.
Yeah,
it seems
simple.
Seems minimal. And again, I just if you put are there any other LGBT reefers around? It's exactly the same as going, are there any reefers around who like meat?
Yeah,
which. There's or let's talk about the Mandalorian, which is a thread on the Reef to Reef site.
Really?
That was started by a moderator. Although the terms of service, they keep telling us say that we have to be on topic. So it's like it's just becoming clearer that they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. And will it be a change? I don't know, but I certainly don't feel good about it, and I'd like to feel good about it. So we'll see what happens.
I just say those are rookie numbers, and we need to pump those numbers up.
Yeah, some people seem to think that the
no, but 1,600 does sound good though.
It's more than I thought. But if the sponsors, I know some people who are reaching out to sponsors, who might
I'm sure that's more effective.
It might be a big deal.
Really want.
And I don't know what I can say about
hit them in the wallet.
So I won't say anything about it publicly, but it, hopefully it'll, I don't want them to close. I just want them not to be dicks.
Well, sure. If they're the biggest one and they want people to be on there, let's be inclusive.
And if you're looking for other places to go because Reef to Reef is being discriminatory and you don't feel like hanging out there, Manhattan Reefs or reefs.com or Humblefish. The Humblefish Forum has got a lot of action and a lot of good vibes in it right now. Or not even just right now, just kind of continually. So,
I mean, that's what I think. Like, if you lose like momentum on this Reef to Reef thing, I mean, what are all the solutions? I don't know, but go patronize a different forum that is more inclusive. Like, try to save the ship, and if the ship isn't just it's gonna do its own thing, then let it be the parlor of the fish world and just whatever.
And it could take a long time. It's not. If the petition's out there for 6 months and people are talking about this for 6 months. But if
the owner's so divisive and like digs his heels in, then
fine. Then we should keep talking about it. It feels weird because one of the places people go for information about the reefing world is Reef to Reef. But if Reef to Reef is censoring discussion, then no one there is going to talk about it.
Yeah,
which they're doing. Which is why it's important to keep talking about it other places. If this is a thing that you think is important, which I do, but I don't want to take up all of our time with it. The meat, let's call it the meat. That's what this section.
This is not a vegetarian podcast, I guess.
The meat. You mentioned ECOAQUALIZER last time.
Oh man.
And everyone that I know kind of went, we want to hear that story. Because you kind of single-handedly are responsible for their success.
No, not at all. But I'm scared because this part, like, oh man, I'm so tight. Anyone that knows me for real knows that I talk a lot. So I have a ton to say about here because I was in the guts of this thing and I have a lot to say about it. So what you have to do is keep me on target.
Okay.
Because I could literally talk for 2 hours about this.
You could literally talk to 2 hours about the letter K.
I could literally talk for 2 hours about using the word literally in a sentence.
You could literally talk for 2 hours about talking for 2 hours.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Did you just shut your video off? Oh, now it's back.
Oh, that was ridiculous. Hey, that was an on-air faux pas. I guess I had to put it on airplane mode.
Oh, you got a call or something?
Yes.
Eric Belsinger you have to put it on airplane mode.
Eric Belsinger decided this was a great time to call me. So thank you, Eric.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thanks a lot for fucking it up.
Jesus, now we're going to talk about you for 20 minutes instead of ECOAQUALIZER.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so
where do you want me to start? Like when I was 5 years old?
No. What is the ECOAQUALIZER?
So,
or what was it?
ECOAQUALIZER was just a tube with magnets wrapped around it, neodymium magnets, and not that any of this makes sense anyways, but even funnier was with a far infrared white powder from China sprinkled over that.
How do you know what kind of magnets they were?
Well, first of all, because I worked there.
So because they just look like fucking kitchen magnets. They didn't look like any special magnet.
Here's what I want people to understand because, in the aquarium world, the people that have been doing this for a long time, they think that evil ECOAQUALIZER and all this. Literally, this was a bachelor in a condo. Like, this was not some big business. This was not this. This was a dude in his condo, me, and his neighbor in another condo that would put them together. That's all ECOAQUALIZER was. It wasn't some big thing, some big company. It
was a classic scam. I'm going to make this in my bathtub and sell it.
Yeah. And moonshine.
So I'm sorry. ECOAQUALIZER was a device you put on your aquarium. You ran water through it, like you ran your return pump through it.
Yeah.
It was supposed to do all kinds of things to make your tank better.
God, it was so schizophrenic because let's call the owner Bob. So
Bob.
if I can remember to call him Bob over and over again.
You won't, but we'll see.
Okay, so let's try to see how fast we can do this, or cogently we can do this. So I was working at the zoo as a zookeeper. I'm sitting there in the laboratory testing water for the AZA. I get a phone call, pick up the phone. This guy, Bob, is not really named Bob, but we're going to call him Bob.
We know that.
Was like, hey, I have this product and I really want institutions to check it out. It's, doing the whole sales spiel. Well, it felt weird because I was a zookeeper and we don't get freaking sales calls at a zoo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, you're trying to sell me something? I'm a fucking zookeeper sitting in a laboratory. And he's like, well, I just want you to check it out. I think it could have ramifications, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, which was also stupid of me. It was not my place. I mean, there's a curator, a senior, and a bunch of keepers, and I was just a keeper. It wasn't my place to tell the dude, come in and check it out. So I almost forgot that I told this guy this, and a couple days later he shows up. And he's just he's got a heavy Texas accent, and he's just kind of dressed preppy, and he's got these like sticks. And so I'm like, I kind of got in deep water because the dude came in and started talking to me behind one of the exhibits. And I'm like, okay. And the senior comes in. The senior is like, what is all this? And I'm like, this guy has these magnet things, and it's supposed to like make water changes less and, fish disease go away and water clarity. And man, I know from watching you, Rich, is like early on, I picked up on you. I think it's the first time I started listening to your stuff that you were putting out, is you were talking about like debunking bullshit products. Yeah. So like when a product does way too many things and it's kind of schizophrenic, it's like just right away should tell you like, no, fuck no. What is this? Yeah, you straightens your hair, cooks you breakfast, kills ick, So anyways, it had all these.
Remember the first LED lights that came out? They were like underwater lights, like by ZoomEd or by some weird company. And one of the things was like, make your fish look good, kill ick. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's
the first LEDs I remember was PFO Solaris. Remember those?
Oh, this was before that. This was just like a little thing you put in the tank for decoration. But
yeah, like if it was emitting UVC or something. Like
it was not. It was just trying to get you to buy it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed us.
Derail. So anyways, so the guy comes in, he's telling me the spiel, and he wants us to use our lab equipment to test it. We had a Hawk DR5000 spectrophotometer that had like matched sets and real accurate. You know what those are, right?
Yeah.
So real accurate. Well, for a zoo, accurate, not mass spectrophotometer.
Pretty accurate.
Shit.
They're great.
And we had use of, any institution like a zoo, and you've had to do this too. Like if you're AZA accredited, you have to have this equipment to test your stuff to submit it to AZA, so you remain accredited for the American Zoological Association.
Okay.
But and so I kind of said, yeah, we could do that, and my senior got pissed because he was like, you're wasting the budget. You didn't even talk to me about it. And then this is where it went bad too, because then we had a curator, obviously, and he was kind of I'm not going to say his name either. He was a cool guy, but he was like the professor from Back to the Future. He was super quirky, and he was a doctor, but it was like in a social thing, like psychology or something like that. It was that kind of doctor.
Yeah.
But he was an interesting guy, but it was weird. The senior got mad at me, but then the curator saw what I was doing. He's like, no, let him do it. And the senior was like, I hate you, dude.
Oh, so you basically you made the worst enemy you could make.
Yeah, my immediate boss, because the curator didn't even walk around us.
Yeah, and so now the senior's just going to make your life hell.
Yeah.
So did you do the testing?
Test. We put it on a tank with fish in it, and then we put it in an empty tank as like a control, this and that, and I was keeping track of nitrate and ammonia and nitrite and pH and salinity, all this stuff. It was just like it was so funny because the guy was like, test it and do a comparison, and so I can use it for my company. And the senior didn't like that either. It's like, zoos don't like endorse products like that.
Endorse scam products made in your bathtub by your neighbor in his underwear.
Yeah. Anyways, long story short, I tested it for 2 weeks. There was no difference at all whatsoever. And he called me. That 2 weeks was supposed to be some big deal. He called me and he's like, what was the difference? And I was like, absolutely nothing. And then there was a long like pause. And he goes, hey, do you want to work for me? He did. He goes, it was a long pause. He goes, hey, do you want to work for me? And I was like, can you match what I'm paying here? And he was like, sure, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. Because I'd already worked there for 2 years. And, you know, being a zookeeper was fun, but it got boring after a while because it was just like maintain where I wanted to create stuff. So I was like, I'm out of here. And then also, too, at that time, the senior was like, dude, you're dead to me. Like, you're cleaning toilets. But so I was like, okay. But again, it was weird, man. I was like 25 years old. And so I was like, I had an inkling. I didn't feel as strongly as I do now to like avoid bullshit products. But like back then I was like, okay, whatever, it's taking me out of this. I'll see what it is. And anyways, like right away. So I go to this guy's house. It was a condominium in Houston.
Wait.
And the dude.
Wait, so you were just thinking, did you know this? You were just like trying to get money? I mean, what was, you went, my job sucks now and I just made it worse. And here's a guy who's got a product that I just proved does nothing. I'm going to go work for him.
I don't know how much it impacted me back then. Like it would now.
Just the next thing to do.
And really what I wanted to end up doing was doing what I've been doing now since really I left the zoo was maintenance. And I was thinking it was some way to, it was funny because I did moonlighting on the side. I cleaned a couple of aquariums on the side and the guy was telling me like, you won't have to change water as much and all this stuff. It was supposed to tear at hydrogen bonding and like that, man, I don't even like, I'm not a PhD scientist, but I mean, I know enough to tell you this isn't true, but you know how hydrogen, it changes the bonds like a million times a second, whatever it is.
Sure.
And he would say that organic molecules would get trapped in that matrix and this would help with their polarity and free up the stuff. Your skimmer would work better. Right. Would increase the oxygen.
Because you were passing it by a magnet. Let's not think about all the magnets that are already in our tanks.
The worst thing when I started working there is I realized like how if this is what this thing was going to do, like where are the scientists that like decided, like, how do you measure magnetism? It's Gauss.
Yeah.
Like how would you know what size magnet to use? Or did you need to use neodymium or could you use ceramic or like how much Gauss did it have to put off or how many did you have to put per each inch? Like it was just nothing. What they would do is roll out black electrical tape and just place circular neodymium magnets on it. Then they would wrap that around like a polypropylene tube.
Yeah.
And they would, what was it like that spray glue? You'd spray glue that and they would get this big box of far infrared powder and just like snow it on the tube.
Where did that powder come from?
From China, from Amazon or whatever.
It's fucking melamine that they're feeding to baby food now, right?
Yeah, exactly. It killed your dog. But so let me rewind a little bit to give you the background of what I know from this. And to be quite honest with you, you know, taking the piss out of this guy, but it's sad though.
Yeah, of course.
This guy was an accountant in a big firm. You know, he had gone to like school for this, boom, boom, boom. His brother gets cancer and his brother, you know, is not doing well. It's like stage 3 terminal cancer, whatever. So they're grasping at straws to help him. It's painful, this and that. And he goes to this, he told me all about it, but I don't know what you call it, but it was like a convention for like new age products of health, whatever, bull crap.
A scam convention.
And he went booth to booth, like trying to find some, you know, his heart was in the right place. Trying to find. So there was like a far infrared powder that they used and then magnets. Someone convinced him of this. And he said that it helped his brother feel less pain, but that's neither here nor there. And that's the super sad part of it.
Well, it probably did because placebo is an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah, I suppose so. That whatever they told him for that. But he was a minor aquarist. I wouldn't even have called him like much of a hobbyist. He was just like a minor hobbyist. But then he started thinking if that helped, his brother passed away. But he started thinking, if that helped his brother, what would it do to water? Because I think he just, whatever he saw at that convention just hit him hook, line, and sinker. And he just applied whatever that person told him to this thing. And he's like, so all this stuff that he made up, absolute bullshit. No laboratory, no nothing, just making shit up.
Yep.
And it had all the, I'll tell you that now, which didn't necessarily dawn on me then, but it had all the classic things of a con job bullshit. Because this big thing was the money back guarantee. Because, and he even did some studying to understand, like, how long do you make a money back guarantee and what percentages of people would actually return something given a certain length of time. So I think he had a 30-day money back guarantee. Because also, like you said, placebo, like you would convince yourself. I can't even remember how much they cost, like $30, $40.
Yeah, it's purchase bias, right? You spent $40 on it. You want to believe you didn't throw your money away.
Yeah. Oh, it was so horrible. The main thing I did when I first started working there, because I guess I'm pretty good with grammar, is I spent a whole week going through his website, like rewording everything. Because I was like, dude, you need a comma there. Like, don't start a sentence with but and stuff like that. But then
yeah, go ahead.
Also, when I told you he wasn't that great of a hobbyist, like the first unit that he had just had a little smooth polypropylene tube like coming out the side. And I was like, you can't expect people to hook, what it needs a barb fitting. So I like my claim to fame, I'm the one that got ECOAQUALIZER to change to little barb fittings.
Look at you.
Look at me.
You made that product 50% more better.
I tried to polish the bullshit and it just smeared.
It's I find it really interesting, and I didn't know that where he got the idea from. Have you ever been to one of those conventions where they have crystals and healing shit?
I couldn't do that because that's kind of the antithesis of, it'd be fun and funny.
It's not
like, that'd be like the last thing I'd ever, because it's sad.
It's not fun and funny because people who are dying are, they're being taken, by somebody who's selling them something to save their life with no basis for it, or telling them they have information from their dead relatives. It's just, it
feels like the 1800s, like the dude pedals into town and he has the elixir,
the medicine,
and he's
show.
like carnival barking, like, get the stuff, blah, blah, blah.
So I didn't know that. And now it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
How it came to be.
It was weird because back then it was Reef Central was the huge forum. And it was weird because it was just like, it was just a couple of dudes. It wasn't super organized. And I think I must have been there about 4 months, because after that, we did go to the very first iMac. It used to be a thing that was like MACNA. I can't remember how many years it ran. Do you remember?
I don't remember. And then there was iMac West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we went to the first iMac. This was another fiasco. And this is where I met Gresham Hendy. So he said, we're going to do a booth and I want you to go with. So I kind of felt like that meant like I was going to be chilling at a booth. What this motherfucker did was put me in charge of the booth and disappeared. Literally, like I had no way to leave the booth and get something to eat. I can't remember who. Someone ran and got me a sandwich because I was getting like hypoglycemic.
Yeah.
But so I was manning this booth, and it was weird because I didn't even really have the whole shtick of all the stuff, and I didn't even feel comfortable saying a lot of it. So he just kind of left me to the wolves, and I tried my best. Anyone that came up to the booth, a few people were like friendly and, oh, what you got here? But kind of little did I know, but people that I had read their stuff and was excited to meet. But that iMac kind of had a focus, like Ron Shimmick and Rob Toonen and whoever was kind of in the upper echelon of that iMac, their focus was like debunking some of the bullshit products that were on the floor. So I was put in a weird position because I had Ron Shimmick's little book. It's in my other room. And I had brought it with me because I was going to get him to sign it. And he didn't want to fucking say anything to me because I had their shirt on. I was like, Ron, I was like, I want to know if you would sign this book. I really enjoyed it. And he goes, I don't have anything to say to you. And he walked away, and I was like really confused. And then it took me a second, but I was like, oh, it's the ECOAQUALIZER. It's like, sorry, dude.
Well, so I ran into the ECOAQUALIZER back then. It must have been 2005-ish, 2006-ish. And we talked about it a whole lot on reefs.org.
Okay.
And then there was the whole Inland Reef did a breakdown.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And where they were the first ones. First, they put it on they did it on 1 10-gallon tank and a control tank, and tested ORP, right? Because ORP was one of the things that ECOAQUALIZER said they affected. It was like they were very careful, but they said it will benefit your ORP. So it's like, we can test that. And it did, of course, nothing. And then they cut it open and took pictures of it inside, and it was just like, oh God, this is just crap. Yeah, and it was funny seeing that, because I mean, I was long gone at that point, but it was funny seeing that. Oh, let me go back to when I was manning the booth at that IMAC, because halfway through the convention, it got real hairy for me, because I don't remember if it was Gresh or who it was, but they were just out for blood to debunk. And some people started coming to the table that was throwing a lot of friction on me, and that's really where it started turning my mind. Like, what am I doing, man? Because I'd already, even way back then, had already, because I've been doing this professionally since the mid 90s. So I'd already kind of devoted like my life to doing this. And I started to tell myself, like, dude, you're shitting where you eat. Like, you're building a bad name for yourself. But man, I don't remember who did it. And I didn't even know what it was at the time, but there's like highly rated science colleges in New York called SUNY, the SUNY system. Yeah. Right. And so someone brings a professor of physics up to the table, and the dude wanted to like spar me. He just started talking. He gave me his card and his credentials. And I was like, I listened to him for a while, and the only thing I could get out, I was like, sir, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not qualified to be talking to you about any of this. I just work here, man. I don't know. Way too deep. He was like, literally, I think it was quantum physics, whatever his deal was. Well, yeah, he's talking about far infrared emitting ceramics. Let's talk about that. Might have been the one he was picking on. He was like, enough about the magnets at this point, but let's talk about the far infrared. And was asking me where it came from, and I was like, I can't really. That's why that was perfect. It was perfect scam, right? Because you start talking about the magnets, and then the magnets don't do this. Well, but that's the far infrared ceramics, and then you can bounce. Yeah, it's like I don't know if Bob had planned it that way, but there was like points to pivot on. And so many claims that it does something. If you shoot down one, you just pivot to another, and it's just all like amorphous. So the other thing is, we did a talk at that same IMAC. Where was that IMAC? What? Where was that IMAC? Schaumburg, Illinois. Schaumburg. Chicago. Okay, great. So you did a talk. Well, and I think this guy had passed away since then, and he was a really nice guy. Do you remember Sam Gamble? Yeah. He was a really nice guy, and I think he was going deaf. He was going deaf, and he was very old. He was real smart, but very smart. But to me, he sounded kooky. I'm sorry, rest your soul. But it was kooky, like he was talking about silica and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't have any basis to like say yay or nay on what he's saying. But he was like our science guy. And I don't mean to throw this guy under the bus either, but Bob Gomans was trying to help us a lot too. He believed in it as well. Yeah, I remember reading stuff by Bob Gomans in what was that? Seascope? Oh, yeah. And I remember reading it and going, what the fuck are you doing, Bob Gomans? I didn't know anybody then, but it was just like, how are you supporting this thing? Well, he went around with us, and he made me that whole show was confusing for me, because I knew who Bob Gomans was. Didn't he have an article? Continuous article in FAMA. He was a guy. Yeah, he was like a big dude from at the time of Albert Teal and all that. Yeah, he was a Reef personality.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, and then even I can't remember his Pet Age magazine or Pet whatever, but this dude like took us and wined and dined us like at a nice steakhouse too, and he was like, you know, like we were the darling of that magazine, like, oh, it's groundbreaking, and I was like, I don't know, dude. Wow. You know, so things like that. But another funny thing is, so they called me up during when they were doing the talk because some people started in the question and answer part and started kind of messing them up, and they're like, Ben, get up here. This was the zookeeper that tested stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, no one said I was going to have to get up and talk to a whole crowd of people about some bullshit. And then he, you know, called me up there. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Because I tested it and it didn't do anything. So I just started talking and bullshit. Here's the funny thing. If the other reefers out there watching this, you know who Dr. Timothy Hovanek is.
Yeah.
But that was way in the beginning when Dr. Hovanek was like a thing, when he had just, you know, the nitrospira thing, and he was working for Marineland, I believe. And it was like, he kind of broke up the whole he was a big deal then. He's a big deal now, but it's kind of when he was coming into the hobby, and he was in the back of the room. And okay, this is a funny story. So I did a little part where I was talking about what I saw at the zoo. And then he started asking me questions about, you know, as it pertained to like microbiology. And I realized right away, because all these high-end people, before, you know, they raise their hand, I'm like, yes, sir, you in the back. And he's like, I'm Dr. Timothy Hovanek with blah, blah, blah. And my credentials are blah, blah, blah. And right away, I'm like, I don't need to be talking to you. I can't.
And your penis became an innie.
Yeah, I was just like, what am I supposed to say to this dude? So he grilled me, and I felt it was a little embarrassing, but I know he wasn't trying to be mean. He grilled me, and, you know, it was his part to say like, hey, your product's bullcrap. And I was like, okay. So it's funny, when the talk was over, I was like, damn, that went horribly, and this whole thing sucks. I go to the bathroom. I look over to my left. I'm pissing next to Dr. Timothy Hovanek, and I start fucking talking to him. We're sitting there pissing, and I'm like, oh, Dr. Hovanek. And he's kind of like, you know, like, dude, I don't talk to people while I'm pissing. He didn't say that, but that's what I was like. I'm sorry, man. Like, I guess this product, and I'm just talking and talking. And he's just like sitting there pissing. And he's like, I can't remember what he said, but it was just kind of like, dude, don't talk to me while I'm peeing. And it was like, but he was like, I'm sorry, kid. It's okay. You know, just, you know, it's probably not a true product. You know, I was like, wow, don't talk to people while their dick's in their hand.
Because we're almost done. What? When did you leave?
It was shortly after that. Bob went somewhere and he said, make these units at your apartment and I'll be back in a week. And all I did for that week was play EverQuest, and I didn't make a single unit. But I got my dude from level 26 to level 54. So it was a druid.
And then he came back and went, where's all my stuff? And he went,
no, he said, where's the stuff? I said, I didn't do it. And he said, I guess you don't want to work here. And I said, I guess not. And I gave him all the stuff back, and
away you go.
He never paid me the last check. But I went from there directly to maintenance. And I've been self-employed ever since then. Was 2004, 2005.
Fantastic, insane story. And the ECOAQUALIZER was around for a while after that. And even within the last 5 years, I've known some people who still think it's a thing. And
I think every couple of years I'd go check on their website, and I was a little pissed because there was no like agreement or anything, but I let him use several of photos that I had taken, you know, from the 90s, and he still had them on the website. And he might have had my name on there. I think I emailed him once, like, hey, can you take my name off? And he did that, but he kept the photos. But I was like, whatever.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
For my part, it really woke my eyes up about what the fuck I was doing, and don't be getting involved in some bullshit like that. And, you know, it's funny. It's really had an impact on my life to be more honest and be more moralistic about what I'm doing. And I can say that on the upside, had I not had that experience, I don't know if it would have pushed me so far in this direction to not fuck around with people.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Fantastic. We very rarely get this side of a scammy story. It's usually, you know, someone like me going, or Tim, or, you know, whoever was accosting you at IMAC, you know, they're, you know, debunking it. But seeing it from somebody who was on the inside and came to the conclusion of like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I got to play EverQuest.
Yeah.
is a pretty neat insight that we don't normally get.
Yeah.
So thank you for telling us about that.
Dude, real quick, I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever knew, but so he had the tubes, but one of the things I was supposed to be making, because people with larger aquariums started contacting him, he had this quad thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd seen it?
Yeah.
And he was charging a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
But it sucked. He had like a wooden jig, and I was supposed to put like epoxy in there and let it sit. So I tried to make one, but you had to be a perfectionist about it. And that's when I was like, fuck this, and started playing EverQuest.
That's really fucking crazy. What a story. Wow.
Yeah.
We should also talk about the at some point the times that we got scammed or we didn't get paid.
Yeah, yeah.
Those kind of shit talk stories.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else about ECOAQUALIZER? Otherwise, we were done.
I mean, I just want people. I mean, man, it was so long ago. I think some people watching this weren't even keeping. Some people watching this weren't even hobbyists back then. But to the people that were, like, all these thoughts you ever had about equalizers, it was literally one dude in a condo with his neighbor who would sit in his underwear in his garage on a bench putting these together, and me correcting their grammar and telling them to put barbs on the end of it.
Oh,
that's all it was.
Thank you so much, because I think my first Magna talk included a big section about the ECOAQUALIZER.
Yeah.
So thank you for setting that up for me. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
Fucking crazy. What a crazy story. And that's what got you doing everything you're doing now. Self-employed. Yeah. I'm just going to do my own shit.
I think I remember asking him, like, how much far infrared powder do you put and what exactly does it do? And, and like and he was like, I remember him being a little bit bugged. Like, how often do you put the neodymium magnets? He's like, so many questions, dude.
Well, what was the answer? How many magnets did you
before we're done with this, let me tell you one thing that I saw.
Fucking no, we got two juicy things, so you go with that first. Go. I want to hear.
So I'm sitting at his desk one time, and he would field the phone calls. I swear to God, this happened right in front of my eyes. So I'd field the phone call. Someone called in, they had a complaint, and he said, hold on, let me get Larry. And he changed his voice right in front of me and started talking different, and he dropped his Texas accent. And he started talking blah, blah, blah. And then the person had, that call ended. Another person called, and this is not a lie. They asked for like shipping because they hadn't received their unit yet. He changed his voice to a woman's voice and said his name was Tammy and started talking in a woman's voice in shipping and had a whole conversation. And he hung up the phone, and I was just looking at him like literally with my mouth open. And he was like, you gotta play a bunch of hats, man. You gotta do it. And I was just like, I mean, that was, I think before iMac, but that was really like, again, it was like when he pulled me away from the zoo, he's like, hey, do you want to go to a convention? I'll pay for everything. And I was like, okay. Are you going to do the voice though? Don't do the voice.
It's really hard when you see those things for the first few times to react, because you're so like this.
No, but and I mean, I'm a decent sized guy. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, but I'm standing next to this guy, and I felt real gross, like he was gonna murder me. It just felt gross. I was like, "What do you do? You're 100% crazy. Like, I just watched you pretend to be Tammy
to scam someone." Yeah,
it was.
So, I gotta know, how many magnets were you supposed to put on, and how much of the powder were you supposed to put on, and how much?
He just pulled it straight out of his ass. It's just. As a matter of fact, it didn't come down to science. I think it came down to how much he was trying to price each unit for.
So he would go, yeah, we'll put fewer magnets because it saves us money, or was it? I mean, did he say put 7 magnets and then he changed it?
I want to sell this unit for $30, so let's only do 15 magnets on here.
Awesome.
Because I went over next door with him where the guy was in his boxers, and I was kind of like, okay, why does this guy not have pants on?
Oh yeah, you did.
He just did the Tammy voice, and then we're at his facility, but the dude doesn't even have pants on. And we went there to talk because he was trying to tell him, like, wrap it less so you're putting less magnets on there, because even back then the neodymium China was messing with the price of it. Yeah. And so he's like, so I want to put less magnets on there. And I remember thinking like it doesn't have anything to do with the certain amount of magnetism you're trying to hit or what, like.
Right. That's what confused. It was like, I got a power head in my tank that's a bigger magnet than that.
Yeah.
Why is my water not charged?
No, there was zero science behind it.
Amazing. And are you wearing pants now? I'm not wearing pants.
I am. I'm wearing shorts. Next one I might do in my boxers.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's our gimmick.
And no one will even know.
Unless we tell them, show them. We'd have to
show them. It depends how popular we get.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap. Let's stop.
Let's stop. Stop the madness.
So it seems like the plan is for us to talk about one big thing and a bunch of other things. Some stuff on the list is about, like, you know, how do you deal with certain pests?
Yeah, no, we'll make it like talking about phosphate, dealing with certain pests.
Just talk about phosphate for the whole 20, 25 minutes kind of thing.
Favorite pumps. Equipment that we like usable stuff. We'll get there, people. Just be patient.
Yeah. Yeah, but mostly we're talking reef shit.
Yeah, reef shit.
Cool.
We'll get to it.
Well, I enjoyed your stories. Thank you for telling them. I hope you enjoyed my listening to your stories.
Yeah, sorry I talk so much. Next time you talk more, I'll talk less.
No, that's the thing. We both have to watch each other that we're not talking too much.
Yeah.
Like we're doing right now. All right.
Exactly.
So let's do our outro.
Yeah.
My name's Rich.
My name's Ben.
Thanks for listening to Talking Reef Shit. I don't even know what we're calling it.
Talking shit, reef shit. Talking shit.
Talking reef shit, I think is what we.
Talking reef shit.
Talking reef shit. All right.
Yeah.
And thanks. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
The more you know.
Jazz hands.
Okay, cool.
Got dirt on my hands.
Stop recording.